I had met a gentleman from Hawaii at a tattoo convention. And in our conversation, we just kind of hit it off well. And he's like, hey, listen, I'm hosting the first ever international tattoo convention in Hawaii. Would you like to come? You'll have a place to stay. Just pay for flights to get there, really. And I was just like, this is it. I'm going to be able to bring Jesus to the tattoo community. We prayed about it for quite some time, all the opportunities that were going to happen there and the ways that, this was going to be the beginning of my mission journey. So we went to Waimea Bay. We had seen this big giant cliff kind of jutting out over the water, and it was beautiful. And it seems like there were people just lined up like ants going up over this thing, jumping off. And when I was younger, that just seemed like so much fun. So we did a couple times. Mm-hmm. On my third jump.
So he hit the water on a low end of a wave, and he went from 30 feet up in the air down into the water, and he probably landed in about 6 feet of water. And he shattered his leg.
My lower leg was like a bag of marbles. There was just broken stuff inside there and loose. And I remember looking, and it was like, 20 yards or so to even get to the shore. And I had to swim, and I'm swimming. And I started to black out by the time I got close to the water. And we were with a friend that was there with us, and he kind of grabbed me and pulled me back towards the shore. And that was really the last memory that I have until much, much later.
We had gone to Hawaii with an intention of going to a convention, making money, reaching the lost, like having a great vacation together, making memories. We left a 3-year-old at home, and then the trajectory of our life had shifted. On the first 24 hours of a 10-day trip, we had to go to an emergency room with no out-of-state insurance. We had to find a way to pay for medications that we couldn't afford.
When we got to the hospital, the doctors had done some tests and some imaging and some different things, and they basically came back and said, we're going to have to take the leg. We're on an island here. We don't really have the medical resources that you might on mainland. If you're not going to do the recommended course of treatment that we say here, then we have to discharge you.
He was diagnosed with a pylon fracture. They splinted him. They gave him prescription medication. Over the course of the next days, we just didn't know where our resources were going to come from. We hadn't planned for this.
We were staying in someone's home that we hadn't met them before, and I was literally laid up on a stranger's couch.
I remember sitting in this family's kitchen, crying, not knowing what was going to happen, not knowing how anything was going to work out, with my child 3,000 miles away, with my husband writhing in pain in the next room, and I couldn't even pray. I couldn't form words. And I just opened my Bible on this stranger's kitchen table, and I was just weeping, not being able to form words. And I remember wiping away my tears enough to see Matthew 6. And the first words off the page, they literally jumped to me, and it said, "Your Heavenly Father knows what you need even before you ask it." And I just wept out of relief, knowing that I didn't have to form the words, that I didn't have to articulate our need, because I couldn't, but that God knew anyway.
An ambulance met me at the airport at Logan. We went for the surgery. They had to remove a lot of broken stuff, and they put in some cadaver bones and some steel plates and sewed me back up. And she basically said, "You're probably never going to walk unassisted for the rest of your life. You won't have a hinge in your ankle, and you will probably need a cane or a walker at the least or something." I had a long road ahead of me, being in a wheelchair, and I was not able to work or provide for my family. We had a 3-year-old boy that relied on us. We had a home with a mortgage. We had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars in medical debt that we were looking at.
I was only part-time, and that didn't cover enough. But we had been married long enough and had committed to the Lord for years at that point, where we knew that we don't rob God. He says, "Bring the tithe into the storehouse so that there will be food in my house." And he says, "Test me in this."
We didn't have money to put food in our refrigerator, to feed our child, to put oil in our tank, to heat our home. And we had a conversation. We were just not comfortable.
We're not going to rob the Lord.
Taking the money that wasn't ours to put towards the things that we thought we needed to. Like, we don't know how or why anything was going to play out. We just knew that we had to trust.
Yeah.
And we were tested, and I had to trust.
I was working part-time. I made a specific paycheck. And of that specific paycheck, even though it wasn't enough to cover all of the bills, we still tithed the 10% of the first of the increase that God had given us. And I remember talking to people about our choice. I just said, like, I know it doesn't make sense, but he says this, and if I believe his word is true, my job is to obey him. It is not to question or to try and do it on my own. Things started happening. Our church pastor called us and said, hey, your mortgage payment is taken care of. And then we find out a family member said, fill up their oil tank.
A gentleman from church showed up just to visit and check on me, and he had a check, a weird amount. And he was just like, I don't know why, but this is the number God gave me to give to you. So here you go.
Yeah.
And it was
an exact amount to pay a bill that we didn't even know was coming.
to the dollar.
It was happening regularly. If I was at church, people would find me and they would hand me little envelopes, notes of encouragement. And most of the time, those little envelopes had money in them. Sometimes there was a physical check, sometimes there was cash. And this particular week, somebody had handed me an envelope with cash in it. I had to go to work that day, and I had $20, and I had a grocery list, basic stuff, bread, milk, eggs. I stood in my kitchen with the list in one hand and the $20 in the other, and I prayed to the Lord. I said, God, I don't know how this is gonna work. I don't know how you're gonna provide, but I trust you. And I went to work. And that day, a patient came into the office, and she handed me a little envelope. I'll never forget it. Her name was Val. And she said, I've seen what you're going through. It's not much, but it's a little something. And it was just a little card of encouragement and a $100 bill. On my lunch break, I went to the grocery store and I got every single thing on the list. I didn't worry about the price. I just got the stuff on the list. And I loaded it onto that conveyor belt, and it rang up $119 and change. And I started to cry, and that poor girl at the checkout counter, she must have thought something was terribly wrong, but I was weeping tears of joy because I was gonna get change back. And I got everything on my list. And I just was like, Jesus, you did it again. That's an altar of faithfulness in our family that day. And knowing that that's who he is, God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and the hills besides, and that the whole earth is the Lord's and everything in it.
It became a joy to take the first that was already his and say, thank you for passing it through our hands, but this is yours.
We should have lost the house. We should have gotten a divorce from the stress. We should have lost the cars. It could have gone so badly, and it didn't.
I went through the physical therapy. I learned to re-walk in a pool, in water. Eventually got to crutches, got to a cane. And I remember showing up for a follow-up visit with the surgeon, walking in on my own with nothing. She didn't understand. She's like, medically, this doesn't make sense.
She said, I'm good, but I'm not this good.
And all we could say was, by his stripes.
Yeah.
And I was able to run and play with my son in the backyard, stuff that I was told would never happen.
Yeah. This happened to us in end of August. He wasn't walking and working again until February. So this was months. I mean, when Christmas time came, our church came through and our son was on a list and he got Christmas gifts because God cares about all those little details. But we are convinced that it was because of our obedience to trust him and to not look at ourselves as the source and to not look at the money as the answer, because that's not where our faith needs to be. Our faith needs to be in the one who owns it all, who created it all, who's got unlimited resources. And that's what we learned through this, is that we don't have to worry about all of that. We just need to be obedient and trust the one who's got it.